idiot planned that video before I started talking because I'm already in tears. So there we are. The late Irish poet and philosopher John O'Donohue wrote, "Suffering is a sister of your future possibility. Suffering is the window which can open in the closed wall of your life and allow you to glimpse the new pastures of creativity on which you are called to walk and wander. But it's very difficult in any way to understand it while it's happening to you. The light that suffering brings is always a gift that it leaves after it." Welcome to An Unexpected Gift, Stories of Cancer and Community, presented by the Midcoast Villager in partnership with New England Cancer Specialists. My name is Kathleen Fleury-Capetta, and I will be your host for the evening. And before we get too far in, I'd like to do us all a favor and normalize letting tears flow. Truly, I can't say the next few sentences without tears. As of yesterday, I can officially call myself a breast cancer survivor. Thank you. Thanks. So it's been 18 months since I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and I've watched 4 other people under the age of 55 living within 1 mile of me on Mountain Street here in Camden fight their own cancer battles with me. I lost my cousin Brittany to breast cancer in September, and she was 36 and diagnosed just a few months before me. And I'd like to honor her tonight for sure. And like many of you who are here tonight, also lost my dear friend Monica Kelly, who is the artist of this beautiful work, which is so aptly entitled What We Bear. And she passed about a year ago from complications of leukemia. So after all this grief, it felt really necessary to gather and to share these very human stories out loud in front of all of you, and to acknowledge and express gratitude for the power of community to hold us all and to heal us. So before we get started with these stories, I have to do a few thank yous. First off, Carl, can you raise the house lights? We have almost, I think, 300 people here tonight on a dreary April on a Friday night to talk about cancer. That is pretty incredible, and I just want to thank you all for being brave enough and vulnerable enough to come out here and be part of this really special evening. So I hope you all feel that in this room, because it's amazing. And for those of us who are on stage tonight, it's an incredible endorsement of support. So thank you. Yeah. I want to thank everyone here at the Opera House, Dave Morrison, who's actually going to join us on stage later, Beth O'Connor, who had the original idea for this event, Carl, thanks for tolerating our, getting all this together for the first time, and just thanks for partnering with us. We look forward to lots of Midcoast Villager events here. We're really excited about that. Yeah. Speaking of the Midcoast Villager, Reed Brower, none of this would be possible without you and Martha, and so thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And while I've been battling cancer, there has been an incredible, incredible group of humans making the Midcoast Villager real. And some of them are here tonight, and you guys are amazing, and I can't believe it's real. It's like happening. We're doing it. You're doing it, so thank you. To my friend and the brilliantly talented artist and philosopher, Laura Greenmoth-Ramel, she created this art skirt. Ready? She has a philosophy called Nekese Est, which I really look forward to you all learning about. But this skirt, for me, really represents hope and the interconnectedness that we all share tonight. And of course, to my people, you all know who you are. I don't want to cry again. That have been by my side in my own personal cancer marathon. I literally, our kids say it over and over again, literally would not be standing here without all of you. So thank you. One of the people that I'd like to thank and bring up onto the stage, if you're ready, is my oncologist, Chiara Batelli. She is, yep, come on out. You can go that way, that way. Chiara Batelli is known, we have a group called Tatas and Tapas, which is young women in Maine with breast cancer. And like Batelli is like a celebrity rock star, truly. She has lots of patients in our area. Her professional accolades are amazing, but it's actually her spirit and her kindness and the incredible culture that you have created at New England Cancer Specialists, which is why I went there and why they make such a perfect sponsor for this event. So she's going to say a few words about New England Cancer Specialists. One of the special things about my team, Dr. Batelli and my nurse practitioner, Amanda Magnoli, who couldn't be here, both of them lost their mom to breast cancer. And when, here I go, when you go in with 3 kids, and you get diagnosed with breast cancer, to have 2 women who understand what that means on your side is beyond medical support. It's just truly like soul support. So, Dr. Chiara Batelli.
All right, they say don't cry. So I wrote it down, what I had to say, because actually, I'm not going to talk about New England Cancer Specialists, enough of that. I think I'm going to talk about how special this event is for me and for us all together. As Kathleen said, I have the honor to be a medical oncologist and a breast cancer specialist. And it's truly an honor because in my journey I have met a lot of strong, wonderful, passionate women that have taught me a lot and have helped me to honor my mom over the last 35 years. So one of those patients is here, and it's one of the big reasons why we are all here today. And we are going to talk about elevating cancer support in our communities. It's truly an honor to be here. And I couldn't believe how wonderful this is and how many people. So congratulations for this. This event is a shining example of the power of one person's courage to inspire something bigger. We are here because a member of this community who faced cancer with strength and determination decided to turn her experience into action. She's building a support system for those who are coming after her. And in doing so, she's creating something essential, a community of fighters, of listeners, of helpers, and of hope. That's the kind of strength that changes lives and changes the world. When we talk about cancer, we often focus on the medical aspect. Obviously, I'm a physician, right? You have to think about a treatment plan, appointments, and tests, and results, and what's next. But cancer care is way more than talking about medicine. It's about people. It's about how we show up for one another in the hardest time. It's about what we build together when someone is diagnosed, what we can offer each other on the path toward healing. Whatever that path may look like, we need to be together. Having the support of the community improves outcome. I can tell you, when I counsel patients, the thing that worries me the most to give any treatment whatsoever is when they tell me they are alone. Community plays a vital role in all our life journey, no matter what the journey is. For someone living with cancer, support can come in many different ways, and unfortunately lasts for many, many years. Sometimes it's a ride to the treatment, a home-cooked meal, childcare, maybe some friendship, some people being there with them during the treatment. Sometimes it's simply sitting next to each other, laughing or crying. These acts may seem small, but I believe they are the lifeline for many people. They remind people that they are not alone. But community support doesn't end with individuals. Whole neighbors, workplaces, faith group, and even local business can contribute to this community of care. They can help raise awareness, provide funding for local programs, support caregivers, and advocate for services that make cancer care more accessible, transportation, nutrition programs, wellness services, lodging for those that have to travel to their treatment. Tonight's event reminds us that each of us has something to give. Whether it's time, talent, resources, your support matters. It makes the load lighter. It makes the outcome better. And it reminds every patient and every family member that they are surrounded by compassion. So let's continue to follow the example of the remarkable woman who brought us all together tonight. Let's build a community where no one faces cancer alone. Let's make way for connection, for conversation, for practical help, and mostly for hope. Because when we come together, we don't just support cancer, we elevate it. Thank you.
Well, isn't she incredible? You see why we call her a rock star? All right, we are going to jump into the storytelling now. I would like to welcome a very dear friend of mine, also a member of the 2024 Mountain Street Cancer Club. Lives just down the road from us, the tennis director at MRC, father to an incredible son, husband to a soulful superwoman, my husband's boss and bandmate, and one of the strongest and most inspiring humans I am lucky enough to call a dear friend. Please welcome Seth Meyer.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for being here this evening. My name is Seth Meyer. As Kathleen mentioned, I am the tennis director over the Midcoast Recreation Center, and I have been for 20 years. I live in Camden with my beautiful wife, Erin, and my amazing son, Will. And I am a cancer survivor. My cancer story started in the fall of 2023. And it started with some back pain, which for someone like me who runs around the tennis court all day long, not an unusual thing. But it felt a little different this time. So I went in and saw my doctor, and the first appointment lasted about 2 minutes, and she sent me home with some muscle relaxers. But those didn't help. And I started having trouble sleeping. And I started to lose weight. And in December of that year, one of my dear friends and colleagues committed suicide. And as my symptoms worsened, I thought that some of it was from the stress and the grief of that situation. But it kept getting worse. And I was having trouble eating. It was painful. And I came home one day after work and I said, Aaron, something's really wrong. And so I went back into the doctor the next morning for a more comprehensive exam this time. And as soon as they got to my lymph nodes, they said, Seth, go get a CAT scan. It would be a while before I was officially diagnosed, but we all knew what I was up against. It was cancer. The winter months were very dark. I was diagnosed with stage 4 B-cell non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And the plan was to start at Penn Bay, to have my first round of chemotherapy at Maine Med, and then make my way potentially to Dana-Farber in Boston. But we ran out of time. I was getting sick so quickly. As my symptoms worsened, I spent 2 4-day stays at Penn Bay. And on the 4th day of the second stay, my wife took one look at me and said, we've got to get Seth out of here. And so I was transported by ambulance to Maine Med. And that started my long stay there. Shortly after getting to Maine Med, I had my first round of chemotherapy. And about a week later, things went really bad. And we still don't know if it was the chemo itself or the cancer, but I ended up with a perforated intestine. And I went into sepsis shock. And what followed was 7 gastrointestinal surgeries over a couple weeks span, multiple blood transfusions and plasma transfusions. And I was on a ventilator for a month. And you know, a lot of these dark winter months, a lot of it I don't remember. And I have to rely on others to kind of fill in the gaps. But a few instances that I want to share that remain crystal clear in my head. One was the middle of the night being prepped for one of those surgeries. And I was in a room full of a dozen or more doctors and nurses and surgeons who were frantically prepping me for surgery. And the surgeon came over to Aaron and I and said, Seth, it's probably a good idea for you to call your parents and for you to call your son. And I remember thinking in that moment, it's 3 o'clock in the morning, no one's going to pick up the phone. But they all picked up on one ring. The surgeon wanted us to have a chance for us to say goodbye. On 3 separate occasions, they tried to take my ventilator out in hopes that I could breathe. The first 2 times, I don't remember, and from the few details that I've been told, it's probably a good thing. But the 3rd time, I do remember, and they took my ventilator out in hopes that I could breathe. But I couldn't. And I remember so vividly gasping for air and almost choking. And I turned and looked Aaron in the eyes and I said, Aaron, I love you. Please tell Will that I love him. I thought I was going to die. And to be honest, I was dying in that moment. But luckily, they were able to re-intubate me. One other instance from those dark winter months, and when I tell people this, I often think that they probably think that I'm crazy. And maybe I am. But I spent a month in the ICU. And during that month, my wife, Erin, was not allowed to spend the night with me. So I was by myself. And in those dark moments, laying in my hospital bed, and this is the part that I have such a hard time explaining to people because I was not awake and I wasn't asleep. But in those moments, I couldn't tell if I was alive or dead. And oddly, it wasn't scary. It was actually rather peaceful. But they were dark winter months. As the spring hit, we had to swing for the fences. It took every ounce of strength and determination that I could muster, and every ounce of love and support from my family and from this community to get me through those dark months. But my body was left in shambles. My body had atrophied to the point where I couldn't walk. I couldn't even move my legs. I would wake Erin up in the middle of the night just so she could move my legs into a different position so I could try to be comfortable. I couldn't talk. I would try to communicate by writing on a piece of paper, but it would be weeks before I was able to write legibly. And I couldn't eat. I couldn't drink. I couldn't even drink water without aspirating it. And at this time, I had 7 tubes coming out of my body, 2 from my chest and 1 from my heart to get rid of some of the excess fluids. I had a catheter, I had a feeding tube, I had a trach because it was the only way I could get off a ventilator. It was a nightmare. And my weight plummeted to 106 pounds. And I remember looking into a handheld mirror and not recognizing the person looking back at me. And one day, my oncologist came into the room and said, "Seth and Erin, we have to swing for the fences." Up until this point, I was too sick and too weak to have a second round of chemotherapy. But the cancer was winning, and we didn't have a choice. And he prepared us for what might happen because of the chemotherapy. But we had to swing for the fences. And so we did. And I remember the minutes and the hours and the days after that chemotherapy treatment being terrified of what was going to happen. But instead, that fear turned into hope. And I started to show very, very small signs of progress. I was able to start physical therapy and occupational therapy. And when we started this, all I was able to do was maybe sit on the side of the bed. They would Hoyer lift me from my bed into a chair to see if I could sit up for a minute or two before my vitals would crash. And it was so hard for me to see the progress, but it was there. And I remember spending my 48th birthday in the hospital. And I was surrounded by wonderful doctors and nurses who made me this beautiful giant card. And my family and my friends. And my dear friend Noah, as Noah does, walking through the door, playing a ukulele, and singing me happy birthday. And I remember very vividly the feeling in the room that day was one of joy, and one of hope. And I kept making progress. And my physical therapy sessions would turn into trying to stand up. And I would set daily goals to improve it the next day. I would try to stand up twice. Then I would try to use a walker to take a couple steps. But I kept making progress. And several weeks after that birthday celebration, after 86 days in main med, I was discharged. And I remember very vividly, just prior to leaving, sitting on my hospital bed with my wife and crying. And these were not normal tears. They were tears of joy and tears of uncertainty. From main med, I was taken by ambulance to New England rehab because I still wasn't strong enough to go home. And I had to demonstrate that I was strong enough to do some very basic things before they would let me go home. But at this point, I was determined. And they would say, Seth, you have to walk 75 feet with your walker. So I would walk 100. They would say, Seth, that didn't count. You have to do it again. And this time, you have to walk 150 feet. So I said, screw you, and walked 250 feet. And I was told by several people that I would be in rehab for months. But I was there for 10 days. And then I was finally able to come home. But I still had a long way to go. I had 3 more rounds of outpatient chemotherapy, all of which put me in the hospital for at least 4 or 5 days. I had delayed onset neutropenia. I was at home, but I still was pretty much bedridden. I still had a feeding tube, unable to eat or drink. I still had the trach. But I was home, and I was motivated. And my physical therapy sessions were progressing, and I went from a walker to a cane to being able to take a couple steps on my own. And it was really hard. And as summer hit, on July 3rd, I had my last round of chemotherapy. 3 weeks later, I had a PET scan, and I was declared in remission. But my journey is far from over. In fact, it's definitely a lifetime journey. And I'm still a long ways away from being as strong as I was before. And I'm starting to work on my mental health because I have a lot of PTSD and a lot of trauma to unpack. But I'm getting there, and I'm lucky. And I want to leave you today with some of the unexpected gifts that I've experienced through my cancer journey. The first is the gift of perspective. It is crystal clear to me now what is really important in life. And every morning when I wake up, I lean into the joy of simply being alive. What a gift that is. And the beautiful gift of healthcare workers. I had hundreds of doctors and nurses and oncologists and PT and OT, and these people are amazing human beings. Their ability to motivate me when I really needed it and to treat me like a human being when I didn't feel like one at all. And a lot of them are in the audience tonight. And I want to take this opportunity to say thank you. Thank you for giving me a second chance. I promise I'll make the most of it. And the unexpected gift of strengthened relationships with my parents and my sister, who upended their own lives to help me and my family, and would hold my hand beside my bed in my darkest moments. And to my son, Will, imagine a 15-year-old not having either one of his parents home for 100 days and knowing that his father might die. And the way that he has handled that is unbelievable, and I admire him. And there's no way I'm getting through this next section without crying. Yeah, thank you. And to my wife. My wife is a real-life superhero. For 86 days at Maine Med and 10 days at New England Rehab and 4 more trips to Penn Bay Hospital and months being bedridden, that woman never left my side. And I needed her every minute. And I had to summon up every ounce of strength that I had to stay alive. But there were some days where I was too weak to fight. And so she would fight for me. She was one of the few people that never once thought I was going to die. And I remember a surgeon coming in prior to one of my surgeries and essentially prepping Aaron for the likelihood that I wouldn't make it. And she turned to him and she said, "You're wrong. He's going to make it, and he's going to walk back in here and say thank you." And I did. To see your partner in that light, her strength, her courage, her intelligence, and her grace saved my life. What a gift that is. And finally, the gift of community. This community stepped up for me and my family in our darkest hour, with words of encouragement and support and love and donations, and showing up to Will's tennis matches knowing that his parents couldn't be there, and lining Mountain Street to cheer me on the day that I came home from the hospital. This community is amazing. And that idea of community, and what a community can do, it seems like an abstract idea, but for me it was not. I could feel it in my darkest moments, and it gave me the strength to keep fighting. And I will forever be grateful for that. And lastly, I will say this. There are certain parts of the cancer journey that can only be experienced fully by those who have gone through it. So if there's anyone out there going through something like this, or a loved one or a family member is going through something like this, please know that you're not alone. Thank you.
Thank you, Seth. I would like to now welcome poet and musician extraordinaire, the manager of this beautiful venue we all have the pleasure of being in tonight, and a cancer survivor, Dave Morrison, to read some of his poetry.
It's so great to see you. Thank you for coming tonight. And before I begin, I just want to say that just because it's poetry doesn't mean you have to be well behaved. So in 2015, right about this time of year, I was diagnosed with stage 4 tonsillar cancer. And in order to try and make sense of it, I did what I pretty much do with everything to try and make sense of it, which was I wrote about it. So I'd like to share a few cancer poems with you. This is called Begin. When I got sick, I lost interest in everything except sleep. I'd been a wordsmith of sorts, a writer and sayer of poems, but the notion of stringing together words to describe what I couldn't do or taste seemed empty. A colorful teenage threat had been, I'm going to knock the taste out of your mouth. Had cancer knocked the poems out of mine? I imagined that this trial was curing me of my odd affliction of calling attention to whatever I was feeling, that perhaps it was all for the best. I mean, really, did the world, even my small one, need to know? Well, if you are a witness to this unspooling, you can guess what I realized. In order to heal, I need reasons to get out of bed each morning, and part of the joy of being is creating cathedral or birdhouse, blue chip company or Kool-Aid stand, symphony or clumsy poem. I need to do what I was put here to do without judging it. I need to believe. I need to show up. Here I am. Here I am. Here I am. Thank you. This is Get Ready. It takes over everything. It squeezes into your small elevator. It's the only smell in the house. It's all conversation, spoken or not. It crawls backwards into your memory and forwards into your plans. And when the pain comes, and when the fatigue comes, it's all there is. This next poem, I'm happy to say, has served me well after, treatment and recovery. And it's called Morning Prayer. I am going to die, but probably not today. What shall I do with this wonderful news? One day the lights will go out, the engine room grow cold and quiet. I'll be surprised to realize I've just exhaled for the last time. This will all come to pass, but probably not today. This newly excellent day. I've made mistakes, but none today. I have trespassed and been trespassed against. I've broken hearts and had mine broken. I have caused and felt all manner of difficulty, but today, so far, things are more or less perfect and balanced and harmonious. What shall I do with this perfect day? Thank you so much. This poem is for the caregivers. It's called Last Night. Oh, my love, I came so close last night. The spider web that held the scaffolding together stretched almost to the breaking point. I wanted to bawl and say, I can't do it. I can't stand it. It's too much. But just at that moment, you stepped into the bathroom and smiled, made some little joke, and touched my face. And everything was bearable again, and I could do it, and I could stand it. So when you have your weary moments, and you say, I wish there was something I could do, that's what I mean when I smile at you and I say, you do 100 things. Thank you. I'm going to end with this one. It's called Healing Song. How can I sing with this broken throat, this burned mouth? How can I sing when I drag through the days, wanting only sleep? Very quietly. Every day I will hum notes of gratitude for everything that works and everything that does not hurt, and then one day, without even noticing, I will be singing a song of healing, a song of thanks as loud as a saxophone. Thank you.
Oh, isn't it wonderful to listen to all these different people speak so eloquently? I'm just really enjoying this. When we named our program An Unexpected Gift, we knew we also wanted to acknowledge that sometimes cancer is just unredeemably awful. And there's no gift, and there's no silver lining, and there's no making meaning of it. And that is okay. Likely everyone in this room has lost someone to cancer, like our next speaker, Ellen Reynolds. She's a local business owner, a mom, an environmentalist, and she articulates her loss bravely and beautifully. Come on up, Ellen.
I can't see any of you. It's very bright light. About a year after my brother was diagnosed with cancer, I began to narrate the story of his life in my mind. Things that I would want to remember, highlights I thought he deserved. And despite him being very much alive, the narration in my mind always began, "He dies in the end, Ellen. I think you should know that." And that might have come from a sense of knowing or a sense that he knew, but it was, as you can imagine, an uncomfortable thought to have, like I was willing it into existence despite my own protestations, giving space for it in the universe. But here we are, as I narrate at least this part of his life out loud now, and he does die in the end, and I think you should know that. I often think about the things that people say when somebody dies, how they lit up a room with just their smile. I think we've all heard that 1,000 times. And that bothers me for my brother because I think he's more complicated than that. And I grapple with finding the words to really encompass the person I think he was. To me, there are none so beautiful or magical or untouchable as he was, none so gracious or patient or kind. And every cliche of a life gone too soon seems too grotesque for him. He isn't a catchphrase, and it bothers me to have him captured in them. Abner sent us a text message one evening in October of 2020 asking for an emergency family Zoom, which is not something we're particularly accustomed to. So I sent him a private message asking if everything was okay, and he responded with, "Well, it isn't the greatest news." And so that evening, I took my computer into our laundry room, trying to protect our children from whatever information was going to be shared. And he sat there, snuggled up to his wife, who he'd been dating since we were in high school, and told us, "I have stage 4 cancer, colon cancer, that has metastasized to my liver, peritoneum, and lymph nodes." And I remember just sort of dumbfoundedly staring at him because I couldn't see it. I couldn't believe that it had gone undetected this long. He was a doctor and completely healthy, and there were absolutely no signs. Our dad had died only a few months prior after a lifelong battle with addiction. And so to me, the idea of new grief seemed overwhelming. It was the beginning of COVID. There was a lot of isolation already. But my mom, very true to her form, jumped into action. We were going to find the loopholes, the exceptions. Despite thousands of researchers and medical professionals on the job, we as a family are superior in all ways, and we will fix this problem. We got it. And a plan was pretty quickly put into place. They put a port in his chest, and full Fox and full Fury chemo meds every other week for infinity was the plan. And we did jump into action, like my mom said, searching every scientific journal, looking desperately for the exceptions. Vitamin C in high doses, red light saunas, sugar-free diets, and intermittent fasting. And that first year went okay. We were all walking around in this heavy fog of cancer. It's very consuming in a way that I cannot relay. But he was alive and well, and so we took it. There wasn't anything else we could do. By February, we decided to go to Illinois so that my brother could spend some time with our grandmothers, which was an experience he felt was necessary. And I remember again studying his face and the air around him, looking for any sign of this creeping in. And there were some, frequent bloody noses. He could actually stick his finger into his nose and pull out what looked like a plaster casting of the insides, but instead made of coagulated blood. And as a family, somewhat obsessed with all things body, that was sort of interesting to us, and he was happy to share. So he also had immense tiredness. It was like there was no amount of sleep that he could possibly get to really feel rested. And a shiver when we went sledding that he couldn't shake for hours and hours. And then one evening after our families had gone to sleep, and my brother had just insulted the appearance of my feet, Ellen, those look like they could use a little love. He said to me that he was okay with leaving, that he wasn't a baby or a small child. He had already lived a life full of experience and love. And if this was the direction the universe was going to take him, he understood it. He didn't want it, but he understood. And it was then, 4 months after his diagnosis, that I knew, somewhere within himself, he already knew. And so I began the process of categorizing every meaningful moment, terrified that I would forget. In the first year, Abner was still running, something he had done most of our lives. He was a Division I track athlete. And he would run miles and miles, and he would call me on those long runs. And a lot of days I would be cleaning rooms at our inn and just going about my work with him in my ear. And we would talk about science and permaculture, willpower and mental strength, and whatever newest podcast we were listening to feel right with the world. But a lot of times we wouldn't talk at all, and I would go about my work to the sound of his breathing and the rhythm of his feet. And by November, things were looking up. The chemo was working, and there was now a chance for a more aggressive attack. And we discussed it, and we all felt that that was a good thing, and he should go forward with it. And so that Thanksgiving, we took his daughters to be with us as he flew to Los Angeles to have a long and dangerous surgery. The morning of his procedure, he sent me a video to share with his daughters, reminding them of his love and deep pride in their existence. It was, in essence, a goodbye message if it were to be necessary. And the surgery went well, as good as it could have, but it was followed with lots of complications. And the second year of cancer was harder. Hours and hours on sticky beds in the hospital as he went septic again and again and again. Quiet moments of watching him crumpled in pain. he seemed to really only find comfort in a tiny ball shape, which was hard to see because he was like 6'4". It's just this tiny little human. Falling asleep anywhere he laid his head down. A vicious fight about a chicken coop that was not about a chicken coop at all, but instead covered the things that we didn't want to talk about. What it felt like to lose control, watch the world pass by without you, spiral into a deep depression and withdrawal. My brother never yelled at me, not in our whole lives. And to me, this wasn't really an exception because it wasn't about me. And in fact, I remember thinking that it was really the only time that he even sort of burdened us with the experience he was having. By February of 2023, on one of those rare negative 50-degree days, I received a call that my brother was going on hospice. His body was yellowing quite suddenly and noticeably, and his liver was shutting down. And so I flew out to Oregon to spend the remaining 6 weeks of his life with him. And yes, he was yellow, verging on green, honestly. Body yellow, eyes yellow, in a way I have never seen on a human. But his mind was intact, and he still mostly seemed like himself. And so I was able to still convince myself that maybe somebody got it wrong, right? His existence in the world had always seemed like an intentional choice from the universe. He was an exception in every way. And so all I could imagine was that there was going to be some sort of last-second heroic turnaround of epic proportions because nothing else made sense to me. But of course, that's not the case. My brother died on a cold day in March of 2023, 43 years and 16 days old. After 2.5 years in a world framed by cancer, countless chemos, days upon weeks upon months of sickness, 26 surgeries, 5 near-death scares, the removal of 21 lymph nodes, his gallbladder, appendix, a third of his colon, half of his body weight, and the unbearable process of watching somebody you love disappear slowly until at last they're nothing but a shell of themselves. And finally, despite all the signs that you're heading this direction, the absolute immense shock of a final departure. I can tell you that grief is a violent opponent. It does not play fair. It arrives everywhere, out of anywhere, to push against your body and steal the breath from your lungs. It makes a nest in your heart so strong that no amount of screaming can dislodge it. She quiets you. She blurs your vision and erases your mind, propels you into isolation, upsets your stability with rage and sadness, and 1,000 pounds of blame and nowhere to place it. Until finally you become at peace with the idea that it is now just a part of the fabric of your being that you have to carry on with. Losing my brother felt a lot like losing me. My self-perception has always been heavily framed in the relationship we had with one another. In a lot of ways, he is the only other keeper of my memories. And I find it destabilizing to lose that point of reference. And so I talk about him often, exhaustively, probably, so that I can keep his presence alive in the stories that I tell, because he deserves to take up space, and because I remain terrified that if I don't, I will forget. I almost made it. And every bit of evidence that he existed at all will disappear entirely. Thank you.
You guys, Ellen broke her back like a week or two ago, by the way. And so she just did that. She's like hobbling down the stairs. She just did that with a broken back, which I just feel like deserves a whole nother round of applause. We're like, oh gosh. So following on Ellen's talk, we wanted to take a moment to really acknowledge the loss that we all carry. The last time I saw Monica Kelly was visiting her in the hospital bed in Maine Med after visiting Seth and Aaron. It was like a whole Camden club. And it was April 10th, which I realized as I was writing this yesterday on April 10th. A few weeks after that, Monica died from complications of leukemia. But in that visit, I gave her a book entitled Mr. G by the physicist Alan Lightman. And I gave it to her because we had had a conversation at her house with her little dog a few weeks earlier about the tragic death of her son, Noah. And in that conversation, she said someone had talked to her about this book. And the passage that they talked to her about really gave her comfort. And so I'd like to read that section to you tonight. The passage begins as a character who has recently died is cremated. At that moment, there were 3 gajillion, 47 trillion, 49 billion, lots of atoms in her body. Of her total mass, 63.7% was oxygen, 21% carbon, 10.1% hydrogen, 2.6% nitrogen, 1.4% calcium, 1.1% phosphorus, plus a smattering of the 90-odd other chemical elements created in stars. In the cremation, her water evaporated. Her carbon and nitrogen combined with oxygen to make gaseous carbon dioxide and nitrogen dioxide, which floated skyward and mingled with the air. Most of her calcium and phosphorus baked into a reddish-brown residue and scattered in soil and in wind. Released from their temporary confinement, her atoms slowly spread out and diffused through the atmosphere. In 60 days' time, they could be found in every handful of air on the planet. In 100 days, some of her atoms, the vaporous water, had condensed into liquid and returned to the surface as rain, to be drunk and ingested by animals and plants. Some of her atoms were absorbed by light-utilizing organisms and transformed into tissues and leaves, and some were breathed in. This passage gave Monica a true glimmer of peace, knowing that every time she took a breath, her son Noah was part of it. My daughter just came up to the stage and said that as we celebrate people we'd lost, she wanted to particularly celebrate and honor Preston Henderson. So I'd like to add that. A true beam of light and radiance and joy and dance that the community just lost. Ella, how old was he? 16? 16, yeah. To brain cancer. And that was just a few days ago. So putting all the love into the universe to that family. In order to honor all of those we have lost, I'd like to invite to the stage Sarah Glenn. She is a musician and a teacher at the Bay Chamber Music School. She's going to introduce the other musicians who are playing. Monica Kelly founded the Bay Chamber Music School, which so many of her children learn through. And so her friends and colleagues are going to honor her and everyone else with a beautiful piece of music right now.
First, I want to introduce my colleagues who are here on stage. All of us are some of the earliest faculty members at Bay Chamber Music School. which, by the way, Monica started with her vision because she wanted everybody who wanted to learn an instrument to have that opportunity. And we all dearly love Monica. She exemplified to us someone who shows tremendous grace and beauty. Even though her life was not easy, she endured grief, and she made it possible for our community to have this amazing music school and gave us really special opportunities to work with kids and to work with each other. Tonight, we're going to share a piece of music that we love and that really expresses grief. The words that will be sung in German, the English translation is this: "Have mercy on me, my God, for my tears' sake. Look here, my heart and eyes weep bitterly." This piece was written by Johann Sebastian Bach, and it is called Erbarme dich, mein Gott. Our mezzo-soprano is Catherine der Marderosian. Our pianist is Patty Stowell, who, by the way, taught Monica piano. Our cellist is April Reed Cox, and I will be playing violin. We hope that you, amidst this expression of grief, can hear the incredible beauty that can coexist at the same time.
one more rousing round. That was really... That was such a beautiful tribute to Monica. I miss her so much, and I can feel her so much with that music. It's really beautiful. Carl, can we have the lights come up again? We're gonna take a little break here. Not like you don't get out of your seats or anything. Reed the other day was talking about how when he went to church, sometimes you would do the thing where you like say hi to someone next to you. And I want us to like move a little bit and like turn around and be like, hi, I'm a neighbor. Nice to meet you. Thanks, good. Yeah, hi. You ready? You good? All right. We all have so many new friends here today. Good. All right, so we're gonna go into we're still talking about cancer, so it's not light, all right? But we're going to move into like a slightly lighter mood, one that I do wish my 7 and 10-year-old boys were here because they'd be super comfortable with the next talk, if that gives you any idea. Yet another member of the 2024 Mountain Street Cancer Club. I think the villager might have to investigate that, by the way. Casey Hurd Leonard is a mother and a therapist here in town and a true giver of love and light and humor here tonight. So please welcome Casey to the stage.
You guys, this is just incredible. It really, just seeing so many people here, I can't tell you what it means to us. Okay, so in the weeks leading up to this evening, I've thought about you, dear audience members, a lot. I don't want you to be scared or grossed out by any of my stories. I want you to feel more comfortable with the idea of getting a colonoscopy. And I really want you to feel comforted knowing how lucky we are to live in such an incredible, supportive community. In many ways, going through cancer is a very lonely experience, but your presence here tonight makes us all feel a bit less alone. Lucky for me, I'm currently cancer-free. But I'm achingly aware that many others do not survive cancer, including my absolutely wonderful father-in-law, Brian Leonard, who died of cancer in November. During my treatment, I chose humor as a way to navigate the roller coaster I was on, and so tonight I'll use humor when sharing my stories, but please know I'm in no way minimizing the emotional and physical impact of cancer. And for some of you, there may be absolutely no humor in cancer, and I respect that. Humor is the emotion I'm sharing tonight, but please know every day there are darker, harder emotions that I continue to navigate. Emotions that keep me up in the middle of the night, that wrench me back from brief moments where I forget and can bring tears to my eyes with barely a moment's notice. But for tonight, I'd like to share a few of the humorous stories. To begin with, we just need to rip this Band-Aid off and say that I'm going to be talking about my butt and poop a lot. So, here we go. Whew. As a mom of 2 teenage sons, it's awful to have your mom be diagnosed with cancer, but rectal cancer? Come on. Who wants to say their mom has butt cancer? So, here we go. We're going to talk about poop and butts. So, at some point in 2023, I began to notice blood in my stool. I blamed blueberries and raspberries. It took me a terribly long time to acknowledge it was real and to take action, and I have to live with that silence, and that's a hard one for me. Many times in this journey, people have told me that I'm brave. I'm really not. I am, and still was, and I am really terrified all the time. But I'm learning to move through fear and to try to not let it hold me back. December 19th, I had my colonoscopy with the fantastic gastro team at Penn Bay, and woo, I know, yes. And was informed that day that I had rectal cancer. All of the awful parts are just as you would imagine them and will never leave my memory. So, the sight of my sweet husband's face as the doctor shared the news with him, the looks on my children's faces, the sound of my sister sobbing on the phone as I told her, I do not ever wish any of those moments and those conversations on any of you. My throat still tightens, obviously, when I recall it all. So this was 6 days before Christmas. 2 days after Christmas, we met with my wonderful oncologist, Dr. Michael Vuzen at Penn Bay. Yes? And we talked about potential treatment options, and the first step was to have an MRI to sort of confirm that the cancer was isolated to the tumor in my rectum. The MRI had a 90% chance of accuracy. So the MRI said that it was all contained, so it was like, yes, this means I didn't have to go through chemo, no radiation, I would have surgery to remove the tumor, and just one small detail, the post-pathological scan had to make sure that it had not spread, that it was really just contained in the tumor. So my surgery was scheduled with the brilliant Dr. myriad at Maine Med, and on January 31st, the eve of my 47th birthday, I underwent a 6-hour surgery to remove the tumor. I woke up from the surgery with an ileostomy bag, which, a little show and tell, this is an ileostomy bag. So it was attached right here, and it actually was that was upside down, so it hung like this. So this was on my body, so my small intestine would basically empty here, and I would have to empty it every day, and it would leak, and we'll talk more about that. But then I was sort of sent on my way, and we just awaited the post-surgical pathology report, which sadly was not in my favor, despite those great percentages. So the tumor was removed, 18 lymph nodes were removed, and a wide margin was removed, but cancer was found in 4 of the lymph nodes. It was a really tricky thing to think about because all of this had been removed, but because we don't have the ability to make sure that there's no pesky cancer cells, this would mean I would have to then go through the original regime of chemo and radiation. And then that also meant I'd have to wear the bag for 9 months until I was completely done with treatment. So I went through 5 rounds of chemotherapy beginning in March, and that went until the middle of June, and that was a combination of chemo infusions and then daily chemo pills. And then when I finished the chemotherapy, I then had 6 weeks of radiation in Bath, and just we can all groan about this. The timing was from July until the middle of August. But thankfully, they were able to schedule it really early in the morning, so it was really not so bad. And let me just, again, say in the middle of all of this, I'm knowing that Seth and Kathleen are also navigating cancer, and our children were all in school together, and we're living on the same street. And, you know, I saw Kathleen in the hospital after I had just met with my oncologist, and Seth and I almost crossed paths at Maine Med, so it just felt like cancer was everywhere. For me, a gift of cancer was really seeing how incredible anyone who works in oncology is. I mean, they are the most compassionate, kind, supportive humans. It's really astonishing. During my first round, I know, yes, I mean, yeah. During my first round of my first infusion, I just basically cried the whole time. It was just all a little too much. But by the second time, I looked around and my eyes were opened, and I could just, watching these infusion nurses and the way that they would navigate and connect with patients was just beautiful, and I'll never forget it. So overall, my treatment was pretty darn okay. The way your body reacts to chemo is an adventure. not the most fun adventure. And the ileostomy bag had a tendency to leak at terrible times, like restaurants, in the car with my family, standing in the kitchen with my children's friends. And replacing the bag when it leaks is like trying to put a nozzle on a running hose. So it's like really hard and messy. And the radiation was all fine until it wasn't. And the effects of the radiation take a while to build. But my goodness, when they do, wowza. The best way to describe it is like a blowtorch on your genital area. So at one particularly fiery moment, it was August, I sort of like waddled over with the bag leaking, and just the whole thing's uncomfortable. I waddled over to the kitchen sink and decided to bring a little levity to this situation. So Alicia Keys has a song with the lyrics, "This girl is on fire." So, it gets better. On this warm summer day with the windows wide open, I belted out to my husband, "My vag is on fire." He laughed, I laughed, and then I heard from outside, "Mom, what did you just say?" So my 16-year-old, who's in the audience, was outside. I didn't realize that he was right there. So what you gonna do, right? This is just part of it. So September 23rd, I had a second surgery for my ileostomy reversal. My body parts were reattached, and since that time, I've been healing and adjusting to the ways that my body has changed. I've entered the surveillance phase of treatment and had a clean and clear CT scan, blood work, and I had a clear colonoscopy. So I know. So I will continue with surveillance, and I'll have colonoscopies every 2 to 3 years for the rest of my life, and that is going to be fine with me. So we're going to get more to colonoscopies. But so, overall, the quality of my life is pretty good. I have developed a it's a syndrome called LARS. It's low anterior resection syndrome, which in real life just sort of means that I poop currently a lot, like 15 to 20 times a day. I have gas I can't control, rectal pressure, and occasionally awful rounds of what we're just going to call butt spasms, but there's probably another term for them. But I'm working on addressing these, and just in the past 10 days, knock on all the wood, I have had some great improvement, so hopefully I'm on the right track. But now you, my friends, you can greatly reduce your chances of going through all that I've gone through if you will consider getting a colonoscopy. The recommended, yes. So the recommended age for your first colonoscopy is now 45. That used to be 50. It's now 45. If and when they make me queen of the universe, which I'm still holding out for, I would like it to go down to 40. Then at least for women, you'd be getting a mammogram and a colonoscopy at the same time. So maybe that is to come. But I am really intrigued, I guess, by how much fear and misunderstanding there is around a colonoscopy. So I just want to take a couple of minutes and briefly describe what happens, because I think most people would agree, those who have had them, they're really not that bad. And boy, I'll say, they're a lot better than what I've gone through. So when you have a colonoscopy, you have to drink a lot of liquid. You'll get tired of drinking this liquid. This liquid will not taste so good towards the end. But that's just a small part of your day, and you have to do that over the course of a day or maybe a day and a half. You'll poop. You're going to poop a lot. You're going to be surprised you can poop so much. And then eventually, your poop is going to turn into liquid, so it's more like you're peeing. But that's good. That means you're now cleaned out. You're ready for your procedure. So you will then go to your doctor, and they will give you this most delightful anesthesia called propofol. I think I pronounced that correctly. It's like a great nap. It's so delightful. So you'll take this little nap, they'll go in and check everything out, and then when you wake up, you get immediate results. And if it's all nice and clean, you don't have to do this again for a decade, you guys, a decade. So, and if there are some polyps, then they will be able to see those, and they'll be able to watch them or remove them. And so I just can't emphasize enough, any of the grossness that you would think might occur with a colonoscopy is really infinitely better than the things that you might have to go through if you have colorectal cancer. So I strongly, strongly, strongly encourage you to consider one. So, I'd like to conclude with sharing the most powerful gift of cancer that remains with me, and that is the cutting through and the clarity. There is a depth and a seeing and a knowing that for me didn't exist before having cancer. The bullshit of life doesn't impact me in the same ways. The perspective of what truly matters is amplified, and your heart expands in new ways. If you are considering getting a colonoscopy but you're nervous, please stop me at Hannaford, stop me at the dump, call me, I'll give you a ride, I'll give you some encouragement. We have to talk about these hard things, we really, really do, and I'm here for the conversation. Thank you all so much for being here.
All right, we are going to continue on this trend with our next speaker, who is a cancer thriver. And words really failed to describe the vibrant and irreverent genius of Emily Olga Dillon. She runs a program called Killing Cancer with Comedy. And she is a stand-up comedian, and she is starting a program. What's the date? May 1st? May 1st it starts, but May 30th at Watts Hall? Yeah. Okay. She's working with kids in Rockland in the middle school. Middle school? Sorry, I should have fact-checked. To take their hardest things and turn it into comedy. And she's going to do that here tonight. So please welcome Emily Olga Dillon.
Sorry, guys. I just got back from the airport. I was supposed to get on a flight to Vegas, but they're like, sorry, there's not enough overhead space. Isn't that awful? So 8.5 years ago, I got cancer. And I know what you guys are thinking, but you're wrong. Breast cancer took one look at me and went, oh, hell no, I don't have that kind of time. Well, it's okay, because let me tell you, I've got a smoking hot oncologist. I mean, this guy is so fine that every time I go in, I ask him for a breast exam and a cervical exam, and he's so good at it, and I enjoy it so much, I just don't have the heart to remind him I've got leukemia. Yeah. It's called chronic myeloid leukemia, CML. It's the same kind that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar has. Yeah, I take a pill every day. Every single day I have to take a chemo pill. My kids call it my death control pill. It's great. During COVID, my daughter shaved her head bald. We go into the grocery store. She's like, hey, Mom, check it out. They're going to let us go first in line. I'm like, what are you talking about? She goes, you have cancer, but I'm cosplaying, so we get to go first. Yeah, it's great. Comedy's the only way to get through it for me. I've been killing cancer with comedy since I grew up in South Thomaston, and I didn't even have cancer then. So, yeah, the worst joke ever. I have no idea. What were my jokes? See, I forget everything. And this is what I try to tell people when you're on stage. You can screw it all up because nobody knows. Yeah, so Kareem and I, we have a lot in common, clearly. He's been fighting cancer, fighting CML since 2009. He looks great. He's done all kinds of cool stuff. So, of course, we're very much alike. We've both been dealing with basketballs for a very long time. We scored a lot more in our youth. And we're the perfect weight for someone who's 7'2". Yeah, it's good stuff. But, thank you. I don't have my phone up here because I never use notes. It's really hard for me. Kathleen's like, look, we're in Camden. You can't say those words, Emily. It's quite all right. But the Killing Kids with Comedy, I always end my shows. Killing kids. Cancer. I speak very quickly. The only kids I want to kill are the ones at my house that call me mom. The STD, sexually transmitted dependence. It's horrible. Stop poking the tiger. I'm going to get in trouble, Kathleen. No, so at the end of every one of my shows, I always end it with comedy and ADHD. Also, it's way worse than the cancer. Comedy and tragedy are two sides of the same coin, and you can't get through one without the other. I mean, history has proven this. And that's how I've always dealt with anything negative in my life. And cancer is nothing but negative cells. They're bad cells displacing good cells. And we have cancer of the body, and we have cancer of the spirit. Bad pushing out good. So what my message and my mission and what, I've always been a clown, but cancer's been a gift for me because it's given me a platform to really push home to people how important it is that no matter how bad shit gets, you can take away the negative feelings by just laughing at it. It's like a bully on the playground. The bully's he's 4 times bigger than you. He's gonna beat the hell out of you. But you don't have to, he's gonna beat you up, but you don't have to let him beat you down. That's it. So, no matter what happens in life, I know everybody, we're here talking about cancer, for God's sakes. You gotta keep laughing. None of you are alone in here, not one of you. I mean, look at all the people that have come out tonight. This is insane. This is amazing. Just keep laughing. Cancer isn't the only bad thing out there. It's just one of them. But if you keep a good attitude and you keep laughing at the hard stuff, it's just easier to deal with, and it keeps your spirit solid. And that will help your body in return. Now, I know that ain't funny, but it ain't wrong. And I am doing the Kid program I'm so excited about. It's starting at Oceanside, May 30th at Watts Hall. Free, obviously. We're not going to charge you to come support children. But we're going to take 25 kids from Oceanside Middle School. My friend Linda and I, we're going to teach them stand-up comedy. And it's just a tool that they think they're having fun. But we're teaching them how to cope with the hard things in life, which is middle school is where life starts to really suck, you know? And these kids are gonna have a blast. They're gonna actually start talking to humans instead of doing this all the time with their cell phones. They're gonna actually learn how to behave in a group. It's gonna be amazing. I'll be like the Pied Piper and Mary Poppins met Robin Williams. Oh God, it's gonna be nuts. But I'm really excited about it because I know that's why this happened, and I know that's my next mission, right? It's gonna be Jerry Lewis meets comic relief, and God help these children. Thank you, guys. I'm Emily Dillon.
We need a photo. This is a crown called the Booby Queen makes this, and it supports metastatic breast cancer, and I love it. I don't actually wear it. I'm sorry, Ella, I'm embarrassing you, but it's beautiful. All right, thank you, Emily. Our last speaker before our panel discussion is none of this evening would have happened without our next speaker, because she has really been my personal pillar of hope since I met her about 4 years ago. She is the longest surviving BRCA patient at Dana-Farber. Yeah. Yep. She is a 2-time cancer survivor who also went through chemo with 3 young children, 2 of whom are in the audience tonight, all grown up, which gives me so much hope personally. And she embodies a generosity of spirit more than anyone I've ever met. And when I think of how we build community and connection, I think of Martha. So please welcome to the stage Martha Brower.
There are 3 unexpected gifts I received from having ovarian cancer 27 years ago. The first of the 3 gifts was learning to speak up and absolutely trust my intuition. I grew up in a crowd. I was one of 7 kids, and because we lived near Boston College, my father rented rooms to students, 7 of them. Every day from 1st grade to 8th grade, I was in classrooms with 54 students and one overwhelmed nun. So I was really a speck of sand, invisible and painfully shy. Cancer taught me to speak up and trust myself. When my boys were 6, 8, and 10 years old, I decided to have a tubal ligation, my tubes tied. As much as I would have loved to have had another child, I was 45, and it wasn't a good idea. So I went to our doctor for a referral to a gynecologist to prepare for it. But I was told I didn't need a gynecologist. I would have the EKG at the hospital and then come back to him for the pap smear in his office. The EKG was fine, but this pap smear was not. I was told I was out of sorts and to return in a month or two. I waited, and again it was abnormal. He said, nothing to worry about. And again he said no to a referral. And he said he handled everything in his office. Next, he would do a cone biopsy, but that came back inconclusive. I told him that I really needed to see a gynecologist now but again, he wouldn't give me the referral. Our insurance needed a referral. And then I had 2 incidences of abnormal bleeding. That really set off alarms. I went back to him and handed him the diagram of my family history. And this is my family history that he didn't want to see. My mother died of ovarian cancer, leaving 7 adolescents behind. Her sister died of ovarian cancer, leaving 2 behind. Her other sister died of breast cancer on Christmas Eve, leaving 9 children behind. The youngest was 4. And a daughter of that sister, my first cousin, died of both breast and ovarian cancers, leaving 4 children behind. I saw and experienced firsthand what early mother loss does to a family. They all got it in their mid to late 40s. And now I was 46 years old. I knew the vague symptoms, and I had 7 of them. I asked the doctor for a CA-125 blood test, a test that may be used to look for early signs of ovarian cancer in those who are at high risk. And he said he'd never heard of that test, and emphatically told me, you don't have ovarian cancer. There are no symptoms of it, and by the time there are symptoms, it's too late. So through a doctor friend, I found out that the OBGYN doctor who had delivered our 3rd child was returning to the area, so I drove directly to her office for an appointment. I was frantic when I got there, and I was blabbering to the receptionist how I needed to see a doctor right away because I was really worried about ovarian cancer, and my mother had had it, and I had symptoms of it, and blah, blah, blah. She said, unless you have a referral, there's an over 3-month wait for an appointment. I explained I couldn't get a referral, and she said she'd put me on a waiting list, and luckily in 3 days, I got in. An ultrasound showed a mass on my ovaries, but I was told to wait a few months to see if it goes away on its own. At that, I collapsed into a chair and cried because early mother loss had shaped my life. I needed to be here for my children. But then I had an epiphany. I hadn't had the tubal ligation. Could she do that and check to see if there was cancer in me? And she said she could do it in a week. So the following week, as I was getting rolled into the operating room for the procedure, I said to her, if you find cancer in me, you have my permission right now to take everything out. She said that would be the biggest surprise of her life. I repeated my request, and she told me I needed to see a psychiatrist because the anxiety was over the top. What should have been a 1-hour surgery turned into a 5.5-hour surgery. And when I woke up, she told me it was a miracle I followed my instincts because I had stage 2 ovarian cancer that was starting to adhere to the abdominal walls. I've often wondered if my mother, her 2 sisters, and my first cousin may have whispered into my subconscious to pay attention. I don't know. The second unexpected gift I got from cancer was the realization that this community is exceptional. As soon as I got home from the hospital, Bill and Nancy Anderson came right up to my messy bedroom to hold my hands. Paulette Spira came in with a red rose. They weren't afraid of me. Sometimes people are afraid of you when bad things happen, and they stay away, like you're a dead man walking. But these folks and so many others weren't afraid. And dear Nancy Lubin, I had only met Nancy a handful of times, yet she assigned herself to be command central for our family. She said, "Martha, when anybody asks you if there's anything they can do, take names, and I will handle it." I'll get your kids to the dentist, to Cub Scouts, to school functions, to sports, and we'll arrange for dinners during your chemotherapies. And she did that for 8 months. So many thoughtful people in this community helped us with dinners and childcare. Yet in the dark of night, even beside my wonderful husband, I was still alone with this. I'd lie in bed, begging and bargaining with God for more years of life so I could see my little boys grow into men. One afternoon, after the second to last chemo, I was lying in bed, bald and no eyelashes, staring at some yellow and purple flowers in a vase near my bed. And I was overcome and enveloped with the sensation that I would be okay, that my prayers would be answered. The third unexpected gift that I got was that I realized I had courage. I was in the highest risk category for breast cancer. So Dana-Farber Cancer Institute in Boston invited me to participate in a study. They wanted to see which of their tests would show up cancer first, because I had a 90% chance of getting it. In the 6th year of the study, an MRI showed that cells were starting to change, and they were thinking about becoming cancer. So it was suggested that now was the time to have all the breast tissue taken out, even though I didn't have cancer. So I did just that. And I had silicone implants put in right away. The worry of breast cancer was such a heavy burden to carry for so long that even though I was in terrible pain from the surgery, I was almost ecstatic that my chances now of getting breast cancer were 99.9% gone. But that relief lasted only about 10 years. While trying to avoid one cancer, I got another. One day, when looking in the bathroom mirror, I saw a lump the size of a large blueberry on top of one of the silicone implants. Within a week, I was in surgery at Mass General. It was a lymphoma lump, a rare kind that doesn't usually metastasize, but still required zaps of radiation after the implants came out. It took me about a year to make peace about going flat-chested, but I did, and it's fine. When I first got cancer, I focused on how many days I had left on this earth. I was paralyzed with fear. But I thought of what John Wayne said. He said, "It's okay to be scared, but saddle up anyway." Yeah, I was scared. I was terrified. But I figured I'd better make the most of my days and saddle up. As soon as I felt better, I started to run. I wasn't fast at all, but Reed and our 3 sons and I ran in as many road races as we could find in the state of Maine and beyond. When I was 56 years old, the same age my mother was when she died of ovarian cancer, I ran my first and only marathon, the Marine Corps Marathon in Washington, D.C., and Reed and my sister Therese, who was 14 years old when our mother died, met me at the finish line. Then I wanted to do more. I hiked Mount Washington twice. I hiked Katahdin twice and Knife's Edge. Reed and I walked 500 miles across Spain right after my brother Joey died of cancer. I hiked on the Appalachian Trail for 6 days. I rode my bike across Maine 3 times. And I went back to school and got a master's degree. I am the luckiest person. There was a time I wasn't sure that I'd see my children grow up. But by the grace of God, I have, and they're in their 30s now. And in a few weeks, Reed and I will welcome our first grandchild. So every day, I walk in gratefulness. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Martha. We're going to start to switch it up a little bit. It's going to take us a minute or so to get some chairs up here. We're going to ask you to participate now in a brief panel discussion. We're going to bring up Dr. Dennis from New England Cancer Specialists, Erin Meyer, Seth's wife, who you all heard about before, and Brian, Casey's son. We really wanted to have a kid up here, an older kid. Sorry, you're not really a kid, you're like an adult. To kind of play that role. But first, I'm going to ask my doctor, Dr. Patelli, a question as we get set up. So get your questions ready, okay? I have some, but I'm done hearing myself talk, so it'd be nice to hear you. Okay, so Dr. Patelli, I had my last chemo yesterday, and we had, and I started crying in your office because I'm really tired. The fatigue, a lot of people have mentioned it tonight, but the fatigue is like crushing. Like there's no amount of sleep, it just is all the time. And you said something to me that I think is important for the community to hear, for people that are trying to support people through cancer. A lot of people think like you're done with chemo. Woo! Great, awesome. But you said some words to me that I'd like you to repeat here for everyone so I can play the cancer card for 2 more years. No, I'm just kidding. If you can repeat that, that would be great. And Dr. Dennis, you can head on.
So what I told her is that going through cancer never leave you the same person that you were before. And the toughest part actually emotionally is after you finish active treatment. Because at that point, all your adrenaline crash, and that's when you realize that nothing is the same. And you are tired, you have changed. So what I told her, I was like, don't expect to feel better tomorrow, because I'm giving you chemotherapy today for the last time, and it's taking you double of the time that I put you on chemotherapy at least to recover from what you have gone through. So be patient with yourself and tell your family to know that it's gonna take a long time, and emotionally it's the toughest time has to come.
Yeah. Thank you. I think that's just really important for everyone to hear. Okay, so this is our beautiful group of speakers and other panelists here. Dr. Dennis, just to kind of piggyback on Dr. Patelli, as a physician, and we have all these wonderful people who are here to support, what are some things that you want people to really understand that, if you haven't gone through cancer yourself, you see every day, but could help people be supportive?
So my background, I'm an internal medicine physician, but I have supported people with cancer for much of my career, and I'm now at New England Cancer Specialists. And my official title, I do 2 things. One is survivorship care, and one is high-risk genetics. And there's a lot of overlap between those 2. So, and I'm sorry, Kiara, I was not listening as I was playing musical chairs very well, so I'm hoping not to repeat what you have just said. But I think in a nutshell, if we look at the broadest definition of survivorship, recognizing that is a term that not everybody resonates with, survivorship begins on day 1 of diagnosis and ends when you end your life. And that's how the community, medical, and everyone who loves us, I would love for people to embrace that. So the needs of, and we've heard some amazing stories. I don't know anybody here, and I'm joked up a lot. So people have needs from beginning to end, and those needs are, people have, I would say, similar experiences from all the folks I've worked with, but everybody has a unique journey. And I think maybe Kiara was saying, and you were saying, is, I'm done, and that is a wonderful, embrace that, and that's wonderful, but you're not done, and I think Seth said that. So people are going to have needs forever. Those needs are going to be evolving, and just because somebody looks really well doesn't mean they're doing okay. So I think that's an important point for people to know, and that I think we've all heard that people are much more than cancer, so much more than cancer, and survivorship, if done well, acknowledges that. So not just physical needs, but spiritual needs, emotional needs, sexual health needs. What do I need to look for now that I've completed treatment, et cetera, et cetera. So that's really what survivorship care does from a medical perspective. So I don't think that's really the question you asked me.
No, that was great. I think that was really helpful. Yeah, no, that was great. That was wonderful. And you can, I have a couple more specific questions, and then I want to open it up, and you can ask Dr. Dennis or Dr. Patelli or anyone any questions you would like. I'm going to pass this to Erin. You all heard the incredible story of Seth and his wife, Erin, and one of the things that stands out most to me is Erin's incredible advocacy. And one of the things I'd like to hear you say is like how you learned to do that. Like, I mean, I know you're a fierce badass, so there's that. But what you did is hard. It's hard to question doctors. It's hard to kind of be like, no, well, like, this isn't okay. How did you do that?
I don't know, to be honest. So my background is not in anything medical, so this was a very steep learning curve. And, when we were first starting this journey, I think that Dr. Jack Nicolette, a very good friend, said to me, Google is not your friend.
No, it is not.
And he was correct, because I still did it anyway and threw my phone across the room.
As we all do, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I think it's easy to be overwhelmed. The fear is enormous. I often visualized it as this ocean in front of me, and sometimes I was at the shore, and sometimes a toe was in, and sometimes I was up to my neck. But I just had to ask a lot of questions. And I remember when Seth first went to the medical ICU, he had surgery in the middle of the night, like he mentioned. And the next morning, our day nurse came in and she said, do you like a lot of information or a little information? And I said, a lot. I don't know what is going on. And she held my hand and she explained everything, and she invited me to rounds, and she would ask questions that I was asking her that I didn't feel confident enough yet to ask in that setting. And I had 86 days of a front row seat to these amazing medical professionals who I will love for the rest of my life. A lot of them are here tonight. I have no words. You are angels among us, truly. And just watching your grace in some of the most difficult and scary moments, you lent me a lot of strength. And then I was able to lend that to Seth. So thank you for that.
And Erin and I have talked a lot about this next question, which she's a little worried that she's going to offend people, but I assured her that was not going to be the process, so you can't be offended, okay? A lot of people don't know what to say, right? you want to be supportive and you're like, I don't know what to say, I'm going to say something wrong. Erin is going to assure you that you are going to say something wrong. There's something that everyone asked Erin that she found unhelpful. And Erin, do you want to share what that is?
Yes, and I will preface this by saying I know the intention was pure and,
Yeah.
and out of really sincere concern. But I think being asked, what are you doing to take care of you, was not a helpful thing. It felt like another item from my to-do list. And the to-do list was overwhelming, especially when we got home, and all of a sudden the medical professionals are not there, and I'm trying to figure out how to take blood pressure, and it was just so overwhelming. And so, sometimes self-care was like, I took a shower. Like, that is winning. That's amazing. But in anything that required a decision, another decision, there's definitely an element of decision fatigue in those moments. But conversely, the most helpful things were words of encouragement, and all of you really sent those and lifted us, and pictures and videos of Seth as healthy Seth were sustaining. And any words about Will, to know Will in the wild, how he was doing. Saw him at MRC, he's doing okay. Playing tennis, I saw him eat some food, I brought some food to your house. I brought, all of those things were unbelievable, and we'll forever be grateful.
Yeah, great. Can you pass that to Brian? So Brian, as the token child, again, I say that word, like, I know you're not a child, but like a cancer kid, I don't know. Anyway, we want to hear from you, because my family and yours and all of us understand that, like, the person doesn't go through cancer, the family does. And so really curious about your perspective. Brian has also gathered some thoughts from several of the speakers' children. And so, Brian, if you want to share your own, and then read some of the thoughts that have been added by other kids, that would be great.
Hi, everyone. I think for me, especially in high school, it was my sophomore year. Teachers out there were really helpful. The day my mom had surgery, I had a test in honors biology on cancer.
Oh,
so my teacher was pretty accommodating with that. And then just in general, the overall stress of thinking about it a lot. Teachers were just always really great. And then I think having just really a great group of friends, I see some of them out there, always being able to go with them and just, listen to music, just feel, not think about it. All right, let's read some of these thoughts. One child said, friends were encouraging by saying stuff and helping me. My grandparents helped a lot by feeding me and getting us stuff like clothes that we needed. It made
we know who that is. That is my son, who my mother fed pasta to every single day of the last 18 months. All right.
It was helpful to be told exactly what was going on because I was too worried if I didn't know. I could also kind of relate to that. Honesty, I think, throughout was really crucial for me. I wanted to know what was happening all the time.
Yeah, on that note, Brian, a lot of people question my decision to tell my kids and to talk about it. And I have, I don't know, we all screw our kids up, so who knows. But to go big or go home. But I do think that for those of us that go in it, it's like you can't hide it from your kids because like it's on your face. You come home with your body different, So I really appreciate hearing that, Brian, that you had that experience too.
Yeah.
Can I just say one thing? I do think a difference. Brian has a younger brother, Charlie, who's not here tonight. But I do think that whereas you wanted one level of information, and I feel like Charlie was like, you cool? And I was like, I'm cool. And he's like, we're cool.
Totally.
Like he just didn't, so I do think there can be a difference there between what people want.
Yeah, the personality of the kid matters for sure.
Yeah. So another child said, having a friend's house to stay at, to have a different space, especially when people aren't talking about medical stuff all the time. Optimism was not helpful from my friends. I'm sure she will be fine. Stuff like that didn't help me because they didn't know what was actually going on. Being sad with me was more helpful instead of trying to cure me up. A different child said helpful things, taking things through with a few select people when he was ready and willing on his terms. I meant talking there, by the way. Not helpful. He was sometimes inundated with people asking how he was doing and how I was doing. Overwhelming at times. He couldn't escape it. Last child said, food drop-offs were great. True that. Yeah, they were really good. Great food, by the way.
Food.
Yeah, people being reassuring that the parent would be fine was helpful. Sometimes talking about it was hard. Yeah, all of these are very real and honest. And I think also just a special little thing is having a mom who was, always showing up even throughout everything was really wonderful. So thank you, Mom. Love you.
Oh, God. All right. We would love to have some questions from you. You've been an incredible audience. We're so grateful. I know some of you maybe have thoughts on how can you show up? Or do you have any questions for these amazing speakers? We want to hear from you. They've been so brave. You can be brave and speak up. Anyone? Oh, wait, okay. Hi. Yes, Rosa. Hello. No, you just shout. I'll repeat it. Use your teacher voice. You get one right now. Yeah. Yeah, so for those of you that can hear it and for the recording, Rosa is, saying that it's wonderful to hear stories of survivors, but there are a lot of people that don't survive, and all of us know that. And I think many of us actually in the rehearsal for this have talked about trying to understand why we did when someone else didn't. It's a confusing reality. Does anyone want to take that?
I really found with my brother dying that the language around cancer was really challenging for me because it is always framed as this battle, and so it sort of implies that the people here fought harder or did something that made them be here, and so the flip side of that is, did my brother not try hard enough? Did he not want to be here long enough? And that's a really hard concept for me to hear because he has two beautiful daughters and this wonderful life that he left behind, and he would not have made that choice if he could have had a choice. And he did fight incredibly hard, and it wasn't about how he fought. It just wasn't possible. So for me, that language is really challenging.
Yeah. Anyone else? Want to add? Emily?
I'm not going to be funny.
Oh, okay.
So my mother, Mary Waterman, died in 2006. I was there. Breast cancer, which means God has a sense of humor because I'm built like you better check them. But my mother was, I know Brian Harden's in the audience. He knew my mother when he was a little kid, and he's almost 100 now. I hear you. So, but my mother was a badass. My mother she was incredible, and she fought like hell, and obviously didn't win. So that kind of, she wasn't able to be there for her grandkids, which were my children. I mean, they were little. She never met my son, And now I have a granddaughter who's 3.5, which had I not gone, I went to the gynecologist. And I told him, look, I have a lot of friends. You might want to check for everything. And he did. And he's like, I think you've got leukemia. And I went, sweet, I thought it was going to be syphilis. But my mother she was such a bad, I had to, and we dealt with everything with humor in my family. Like, again, all the hard stuff, right?
Not funny at all, Emily. by the
No,
way.
I can't help
funny.
it. Okay. I put the fun in funerals, honey. That wasn't very nice. No, it just, like her leaving way too soon gave us this. My sister's got breast cancer too. I mean, like, it's just a family affair. We're just hard ass. You just gotta, I say you gotta power. That's how we were taught. You just keep going, What is it? Who said it? John Wayne, one of them. If you're going through hell, just keep going. Yeah. No, it was Churchill. There you go. I don't read. I just talk. The only thing I can run is my mouth. This one over here is doing
we got it. All right,
marathons.
All right.
Here we go. That's it.
I think the message is there's no rhyme or reason. My cousin and I got diagnosed with breast cancer within 3 months of each other. I had HER2 positive, and I cried on the phone when I got the pathology back because I knew if I hadn't had HER2 positive and it was triple negative, I was screwed, basically. And that's just like a growth protein? Is that right, doctors? Yeah. It's like a random chance that I have this HER2 protein and she didn't. And she's no longer with us, and there's no rhyme or reason to that whatsoever. So that's how I feel about your question. All right, right here. You're the person Emily just mentioned. I got to repeat back for the video. Hi, Brian.
Emily just mentioned me, and I wanted to make a comment to Emily, and I have a question for Martha.
Okay, comment to Emily, question to Martha.
The comment to Emily is, I miss her mother. Her mother was very close to my age. We were in the same class. We used to beat each other up. She usually won. And when we were younger, we thought that Emily's mother was a form of cancer.
All right.
Mary's humor, because Mary left us way too soon.
Yeah.
She was one of a kind, and we miss her dearly, but we love what Emily has made of her situation and her mother's.
Well, thank you for that. I can't repeat all that, unfortunately. I'd say it as eloquently. Emily's amazing. Her mother was crazy. Okay.
I've known Martha, this year I will have known Martha for 40 years.
40 years of friendship with
Hi,
Martha.
Brian.
And Martha has never, ever been a complaining person.
Martha never complains.
She's been
That's true.
a lot.
She's been through so much. Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, she's climbed mountains, she's run
Yeah.
bikes. But my one question, Martha, and I wanted to ask you this for a long time.
Get to the point.
All right, Brian.
How did you walk 500 miles with Reed?
I'm not going to repeat that for the video.
Well, we had 2 blowout fights on it, but I can't even remember what they were. So I love my Reed.
Thank you for that question. I saw another hand. Is that Vicky? Who is that? Vicky? Hi, Vicky. We love you. Marlene. Thank you for mentioning Marlene.
She reached out to me last year because she felt like had she had a more complicated test that is done, mammography her cancer might have been caught.
Yeah, so just this is really important. I want to repeat what you're saying. Marlene was a wonderful town employee, and we lost her to breast cancer just a month or two ago. And you're talking about the diagnostic tests that are used to find breast cancer, specifically mammography, and
She wanted to make that change and make
absolutely, there's yes. I
into it, and I actually, even from the Maine Cancer Society, got a thumbs down that was and it's just really so frustrating to hear, Martha, your story.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure it's frustrating for the doctors that,
Yeah.
these kinds of things that we are held hostage. Our healthcare is held hostage
Yes.
by folks who won't do the right thing and really, keep us as healthy as they can. So, I don't know, maybe
I actually would love to ask Dr. Bertelli this question because my invasive cancer was not found on my mammogram. I had a dream that I was going to die, and I went to the doctor. I was like, I want a full body scan. My doctor was like, you're nuts, but we'll get you a mammogram. They found stage 0 cancer, and then this whole nightmare ensued because I was like, I don't think that's it. And luckily, Dr. Bertelli was really supportive of my paranoia. But it only showed up on the MRI, which is, I think, what you're referring to, is the efficacy of mammography. Dr. Bertelli, can we, I'm gonna hand that to you. You wanna take that question? Because it's pretty loaded.
I know, right? So it's a complicated question, obviously. I cannot stop saying that it's important to advocate for yourself. If you know yourself, and you advocate and you ask. The mammography, first of all, you are absolutely right. I don't see you anymore now, but it was heartbreaking when I started to see that the guidelines had changed, and then, like, you can wait for 50, and I was like, oh yeah, that's great, I wait for 50. My mom died at 39 of breast cancer. I will be long gone, right, if I don't advocate for myself. The mammogram and the diagnostic mammogram are kind of the same test. The diagnostic mammogram, they give you the answer right away. Obviously, there is an advantage with that. But I think what we are talking here is 20% of breast cancer is missed by mammography. Yeah. So if you are told that you are at high risk, that your breast is extremely dense.
Does anyone not have dense breasts? Has
Yes.
anyone been told, like, you don't have dense breasts? So I just, like, have never heard anyone say that. They're always like, well, they tell me I have dense breasts. I'm like, everyone does.
Well, there are 4
Are there people?
There are such people.
Hi, people. I've never met you.
There are such people that don't have extremely dense breasts. But those are, there are some groups of women that deserve a little bit more of an aggressive screening. And I think that's what was brought also to the legislation, so that if you are at high risk and if there are reasons, yes, the community and the healthcare system should support more aggressive screening.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Martha, go ahead. Yeah.
We had so much cancer in my family that my prayer was always, it wasn't, please don't let me get cancer. It was always, please help me find it early. Because I knew there were so many people, and since my cancer, there have been a number of other people who have died, people more who have gotten the mutation. So why I'm saying that is early detection is key. If you think there's something wrong, make sure you get, you go for early, don't be afraid, because early detection is key to get everything, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Hi, Susan.
I just went through 2 cancers, and everything's fine. I'm having a hard time now understanding what I was told that, because I've learned a lot right now, that my head is where I understand it should be, that, that's not how it for my daughters, both my daughters. My cancer was appendix and uterine. Both taken out. Uterine cancer was so minuscule that the cell wasn't even touching the edges. So it was a serious carcinoma, uterine serious carcinoma, which is very serious. And if it had, it would spread like wildfire. Wow. I mean, that's sort of how they explained it to me. But they caught it. Dan-Farber did a whole another check on it, and I'm very, very thankful. But the only reason I'm saying this is I had two cancers in one area that I went in for a totally other reason. It was shock. My father had stomach cancer. My grandmother had stomach cancer. And so I was able to get genetic testing because of that area of the body.
Yeah.
My daughters were worried about breast cancer because my mother had it and their grandmother had it. And they were told that they qualify for genetic testing to get it for their whole thing, including John's lineage now, because of the stomach cancer that's all in my family.
I don't want to cut you off because I want to hear your story. Can we have a genetic expert too? So is there something that, no, we are going to do this more, by the way. We want more forums where people can share. So no, you're doing great. But if we can get a specific question that this woman is very capable of answering about genetic testing.
So if we have a pie shape, most cancers are what are called sporadic. So our body is filled with a gazillion cells. They're always dividing. That's their job. And inside those cells is our genetic material. And sometimes we are imperfect and mistakes are made. So we have this whole kind of cleanup crew behind the scenes called genes. And those genes, their role is to fix those mistakes before the mistakes can, I think you used the term, spread like wildfire. That's an apt term. So you're referring to hereditary cancer syndromes. So most cancers are sporadic, and the minority, about 10%-ish, depending on which cancer we're talking about, are due to the fact that when you were born, in every cell of your body, there was a gene change that wasn't quite right, and you inherited that, and I'm sort of simplifying, but inherited it from your mom or from your dad, or from your dad. They did not do that to you. They didn't.
You can't blame your parents for it.
Yeah, but there's a lot of emotionality behind this, and you probably could speak to that as a mom of 3 boys. So, long story short, if I can sort of learn from your story, is spread the word. Even though the minority of cancers are not hereditary, knowing that information is extremely powerful. Yeah. So,
and accessible to everyone. Everyone can do that, right? Like you don't have to be told you should get genetic testing. You can also just get genetic testing.
Yes, so there's qualifications. That's where the payment is, insurance coverage, et cetera. But
you need a benefactor in the United States to get a test done because it costs $5 billion. But
it's actually
hypothetically you can.
In the not so old days, it was extremely not affordable, terribly, terribly expensive. But now, out of pocket with most labs, there are patient assistance programs. So it's like
great.
$150, $200. So it's not. That's a lot of money for some people, and not to, to acknowledge that, but it's not $10,000, so.
All right, thank you for that. That's a really important component. One more question, because it's getting late, and we've been talking about cancer for like 2.5 hours, which all right, maybe we're done. I know, burning question, all right. Yeah. little louder.
I'm wondering what you would like from us.
What would the speakers and people on the stage like from you?
You invited us all in. As far as I go, I want to hug everyone.
You can do that. We'll be here for hugs.
On the other hand, if I run into you in Hannaford, you may have other things on your mind. But are there ways that we can continue?
Yeah. So the question is, how, of all of you who have shown up today, how can you continue to support us? And yes, Anne. Yeah.
Because I'm wondering when you were invited to speak, whether you were like, yes, 100% I want to do this, or 100% the opposite direction, and it took reflection to say,
Yeah.
I want to do this, and that may connect to this question of
Yeah, this is a great way to end too. I basically coerced all the people to speak, because like we were all going through cancer. Well, not. This is somewhat handpicked tonight because of the personal world of cancer on Mountain Street and Martha. But I will let them all speak to their decision to participate. And again, we're going to be doing a cancer cafe monthly at the new Villager Cafe, thanks to New England Cancer Specialists. We're building a community. We want more stories. We want to do this again. We don't want more people to get cancer, but there are too many of us already, and so we could do this 100 times. So please know that this is the first, and so these people were brave enough to do that. Do you guys want to answer what do we need from the community, and also Anne's question on how did it feel to say this out loud?
I'll speak on the second question. Truth be told, if I hadn't been asked, I wouldn't have even come, because I want to put it behind me. I don't even like thinking about it. But I was asked, and I thought, maybe there's somebody out there who will benefit from my story. I also want to add, early detection is key. That's what you can do for us.
Yeah.
Go for the colonoscopies. Go for just keep on top of it all.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
Can I say something real quick? To Anne's question, when I was asked to speak, I said yes immediately. And I've been asked to do a few things, and I always say yes right off the bat. As far as what you can do for us, I would turn that back around and say, what can I do for all of you? This community was so amazing, and I'm so glad to be part of it. And I want to just keep giving back.
I'm just honored to have been asked, because I feel like I'm like the lazy cancer kid up here. What do you have to do, Emily? Well, I didn't get nuked. They didn't take any body parts. I just take a pill every day. But if I don't, I die. So there's that. But what can you do for us? Nothing. You've done it. We're here, and with great power, we made it, right? And with great power comes great responsibility, just like they said in Spider-Man. So we're here to we're the Avengers. No, we're here to put the word out. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Look out for your neighbor. Be patient. Be kind. God, please be forgiving. Especially in the world as it is today. There's all sorts of cancers out there, and just keep moving, keep pushing forward.
And
that's it.
That is a great way to end. Thank you so much to all the speakers.
Thank you all very much.
And to you.